Okay, so last time we ran a simple program, a useless program, and today I'm going to teach you how to use variables. I'm talking about variables like x, y, and z, whatever you want to name stuff that you can use to store values. So in our program called first, which we wrote last time, let's go ahead and edit first. You can see we printed the items. If you remember, we printed the number of items that were in slot 1. So let's go ahead and um, remove this command for now. So it's just going to print that simple string. Now I'm going to teach you how to create a variable to store data. All right. If you've done any algebra or anything, some common names of variables are x, y, z, and so on. You can use those. You can use whatever you want to name variables. You can name it var, or you can name it nose, or you can name it whatever else you can come up with. Doesn't matter. Sometimes people, if you're going to be sharing your code with other people, you might want to name it something descriptive. For example, we can create a variable called items, and we can set it equal to turtle.getItemCount. Oops, spelled that wrong. Turtle.getItemCount 1. All right. So, and then just like what we did last time, when we added that onto the end of the string using the concatenation symbol, which is 2 periods, instead of saying turtle.getItemCount1, we can now just say items. And that'll work. So let's go ahead and save and exit. Now if we run first, it's gonna work the same way as it did the first time. Alright, it still works the same. Okay, so now let's get more advanced. Alright, so let's go back into edit first. I'm just going to teach you some different functions you can do as we go. Alright, so items equals turtle.getItemCount1. So now let's say, let's go ahead and name this items1. Now, let's go ahead and make another variable. We'll call it items2 equals, can you guess what I'm doing? Turtle.getItemCount 3. I'm just kidding. Get item count 2. So now we can say items total equals items 1 plus items 2. Alright? So now when we're going to print out the items, we'll say items total. So now instead of saying we're printing the items in slot 1, we're going to say items total. Sure, that works. So it's going to get the items from slot 1, store them in the variable that we named items 1, and it's going to get the number of items in slot 2, and it's going to store it in items 2. It then creates a new variable called items total, and it's going to set it equal to items 1 plus items 2. All right. Make sure that when you're messing with variables, this equal sign is basically assigning everything on the right side to what's on the left. So all the math or whatever you wanna have is on the right side, and then you have a variable on the left side. It can't be switched. You gotta have everything on the right side done. Everything on the right side is the math that's gonna be done, and then the variable on the left. So after it adds those together and puts them into this variable called items total, it's going to print out items total, and it's going to actually print out the variable called items total. So let's see if it works. Control save, exit, and it should say 0 because there's nothing in there. Now it should say 1 if we do it again. Now it should say 1 again if we do it again. Now let's go ahead and put these both in there. It should say 2. Alright. Let's get some more dirt and add them in there and see what happens. I wonder what'll happen. But just to show you it works, I'll go ahead and do this. So now it's going to say 5. Yay, it works. Alright, so that's how to create variables. Now, you can store things other than just numbers. So let's go ahead and edit this program again. For example, and this is a slightly new topic. Let me go ahead and create a new program for this. So let me just go ahead and exit this. I'm going to create a new program called second. Although it's much more than our second program. We've probably wrote about 10 different programs now. Alright, so let me just create a new variable called x. And instead of setting it equal to a number, let's just go ahead and set it equal to true. For example, true, true and false, basically that's another type of variable. So you can have variables that store numbers, or you can even store, you can have a variable that stores a string of characters. For example, hello. And that's pretty much it, I believe. You can also have single characters. So I think if you wanted to store single characters, you can do, I think you use single quotes like that. I'm not sure about that, but I wouldn't really, you don't really need to worry about that. Just, oops, wrong button. Don't worry about that. Just worry about strings, and that's not even really a big deal. These are strings when you have a bunch of characters together. The only things that are really important are true or false variables and number variables. So let's just say we can use this string variable. You know the print message before? We can print, I think we can just say y, and that'll work. And now y is equal to the value of hello, and that should print out hello. So let's go ahead and save this, exit, and let's go ahead and run it. It's called second, and that works. Let's go back into edit it. Alright, so that's basically how you use string variables. So we don't really need to mess with that now. That's not very important. Not very many uses for that, unless you're trying to make a program have a bunch of text output to give you status messages and stuff like that. Alright, so x equals true. Now I'm going to teach you a new statement you can use in this code called the if statement, which is very, very useful. You use this to check for certain conditions and then execute code depending on certain other conditions. So, for example, let's just say if x, then the way it goes is you say the word if, and then you give it parentheses, and then you put a true or false statement in the parentheses. So you could you can actually say if true, then do some code, or you can just say false, but that's pointless. Why would you want to do that? You would never have a good use for that. You can put a variable in there, or you can do some other stuff. I'll show you some other ways to get true or false expressions also. But for now, we just have this variable x set equal to true, and we're just going to put that in there. So if x, then you want to, normally it's good practice to go down a line. So you say if then, and then let's just go ahead and use our print statement. Print hello there. And then after, to end an if statement, you have to say end, because what if you had multiple lines of code in there? It has to know where to stop and where to start executing again without using the if statement. So you can have as many lines of code in here as you want, but when you're done with all the code you want to be in the if statement, you got to make sure to put the word end so it knows where to stop. And you use that word end for lots of different stuff, but this is the first usage you've seen of it so far, if statements. Alright, so x equals true. If x, then print hello there, and then that's it. Alright, so let's try this. Save, exit, go. Hello there. Alright, so can you imagine what would happen if I changed x to false? I'm sure you can. X equals false. So now it's not going to do anything, because if x, then print that. But if basically this means if it's not x, then nothing's going to happen. Alright, so let's go ahead and try that out now. Second, nothing happens at all. So let's go back in and edit this. Now there's sort of an add-on you can put onto an if statement, something called the else statement. Else means like otherwise. So this says, let me go ahead and change this back to true to keep this simplified. So if x, then print hello there. Well, instead of printing hello there, let me just change this to print out x is true. Alright? So we set x equal to true, and now this code says if x is true, then print x is true. Now, before the end, before you say the word end, you can also say else, then you can type in more code. So otherwise, if x is false, we're going to print x is false. Oops. There we go. And then after that, then you want to still make sure the end is at the end of all that. So you got if, then else is optional, but end is always needed. So if is always needed, then is always needed, and end is always needed. Else is optional. Alright, so since x is true right now, when I run this, it should say x is true. X is true. Now let's go ahead and edit that and change x to false and make sure it works. So let's go ahead and just change the value of this. False. Alright. Save. Exit. X is false. So there you go. Now I'm going to give you some more examples of stuff you can do with if statements now. So edit. Second. Okay, let's set x equal to a number now. Let's set it equal to any number. Let's just set it equal to 10. Let's say if x is greater than, well, hold on, messed that up. If x is greater than 5, then print x is greater than 5. Otherwise, print x is 5 or less. Imagine that this was a number 5. This would not be true. It has to be over 5 for this to be true. So if I'll demonstrate, but right now you can tell easily what's going to happen. X is equal to 10. If x is greater than 5, alright, so then we realize this is what's going to happen. This is true. Then print x is greater than 5. So otherwise, if it was not greater than 5, then it'll print out x is 5 or less. So let's go ahead and try this out. Save, exit. X is greater than 5. Alright. Go ahead and change that number to 1. Try it again. X is 5 or less. So let me go ahead and change it to 5 and make sure you understand this concept. If the number is exactly 5, notice that this is still false. 5 is not greater than 5. I mean 5.00001 would be greater than 5, but 5 is not greater than 5. So this statement is not executed and it goes on to the else statement. If you wanted to, well, first of all, let me go ahead and run this program to show you that it's going to run the else statement, not the first if statement. Alright, x is 5 or less. Alright, now instead of saying greater than, you could say greater than or equal to. That also works. That's how you do it. You put an equal sign after that. You can also use less than, or you can use less than or equal to. Alright, just like that. In order to say equals, you would say two equal signs. Alright, because one equal sign is a symbol used to assign stuff to variables, if you remember that, which is what we're doing up here. So you can't do that here. You got to use two equal signs. That means that's used in if statements to compare stuff. So another thing, the opposite of equals, so this symbol right here above the tab button on the top left corner of your keyboard, holding shift, press that key, that means not equal to. So let me go ahead and remove this else and just kind of show you how to use this. So I'm going to simplify this code here, remove everything else that I don't need. Alright, so x is equal to 5. If, just like that. Alright, so we have this x set equal to 5, and it says right here, if x is equal to 5, then print x is equal to 5. Let's go ahead and try it out. X is equal to 5. So, let's change it to 4 and see what happens. nothing happens. So we run it, nothing happens because we removed the else. Then we can edit it, we can change it to 6, and nothing will happen again. Nothing happens. Alright, so let's go back to edit it. Let me show you the opposite of this. So let's say not equal to 5. So we have x equal to 6 right now. This says if x is anything other than 5, then go ahead and do this. So we're going to change this right now. X is not equal to 5. Alright? Save, exit, and go ahead and run it. X is not equal to 5. Final example, set it equal to 5. Nothing's going to happen because the if statement is not true. Run it, nothing happens. Alright, so if statements are very useful, and you really need them to write some good programs. So as long as you can understand that concept, you'll be able to grasp the next concepts really easily. So hopefully you guys enjoy that, and we're going to get to some more fun stuff next time. Alright, see you guys.